A is Alphonso, E is Eli, B is Bridgewater. And a number of people get some fun of calling me Eli because, in fact, sports was central to the point at which people knew my name was Eli. You know, it is so many of us grew up, we had parents who weren't married at the time. All through school, my name was Alphonso Bridgewater. That's what most people knew me as. And my father was Samuel, so I suppose the Eli name was some connection with the Eli Samuel in the Bible. I'm told, and the birth certificate suggests that as well, that I was born in Navy Street. And I have a very close friend in Marcella Libert. And it's only since I've been a big man, her mother, trying to remind me of how much noise I used to make when I was small, always crying, giving my mother a lot of trouble. Tell me, that's where Marcella was born too. I only knew that well into my adult age. I have too many memories of Navy Street, but I was born in Navy Street over there. But even though I moved to College Street after that, here was the playing ground. Serious cricket matches played there, and football. Same old railing still up there from over all those 60, 70 years. And I Jazzy spent all the time in there. Through the holiday with my godmother was living through there. One of the teachers responsible for what alcohol has become, the naughty boy is. Inside there was a man named Mr. Berry. That's my first television I watched. You know, television wasn't so popular. So we used to come by the door. And after a while there used to be, they leave it at job process, but after a while they used to see a little hole. That's where we used to peep to. And now we used to run us. So we come watch Hawaii 5 and all of it, and there's just a lot of students. One of the earliest people with TV. And here now, John, we've met in the sense that sixth form in there, and then when I started to work, Youth and Community Development, that's where it is, Director, Department of Youth and Community Affairs, the whole compound. I actually was responsible for the construction of the youth center there. In the girls' school yard itself was cricket. In the basketball school, where what I am today is basically because of what the groundings I got at basketball school. Whether it is pitching marbles, it's formal education, informal education, whatever it is. All the elderly that I knew came from the teachers, Miss Amory, Mr. Dorr, Mr. Sutton, Mr. McLachlan, everybody goes back to the teachers who came from grammar school after time. Who, even if they didn't stay in as long, was Marley. He didn't last as long before he left and went down to the bank. Nellen Bowie lasted a little while. Denzel Bowie, I understand he's now known as Denzel Benjamin, living somewhere in the States. All those fellas came through. There's a Joseph White, there was Arthur Williams. Those are the people who I can remember going all the way back to basketball school. Memories. Up above here, that's something I could still remember. Labor et honore, labor and honor. That was the motto. But there's a lot of renovation. Imagine a couple hundred people holding in this one room. And order. Yeah, that's it. Good morning. Good morning. Sorry to disturb you. Morning. You see this? My name is Alphonso Bridgewater. The reason why I'm here this morning, I'm the capacity as president of the Olympic Committee. Have you heard about that? Yes. So they have these paparazzi you see around. They're taking some pictures of me because they're preparing a story of my life. But the reason why I'm here is because I used to go long before any of you were born. Long before any of you. It was a basketball school, but it was always owned by the Methodist Church. Right, and you'll be surprised, over 200 people used to hold in this very room. And as quiet as they are today, that's how quiet we used to. And this lady, Miss Dalton, right? Yes. Right? And now for a long time, you have a good teacher trained, went through years of teaching already and come back to still help you. All right? Have a pleasant day. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you and all the best.
All right, take care. Community action group called Social and Education Association, which I joined back in the late 70s again. The only thing was competing with that with sports. They met every Saturday at the high school and so there's nothing in my life which had happened which wasn't impacted by those years in the Social and Educational Association. So those were the things that happened. And the youth and community development, again, we used that to transform what happened at youth activities on the island. There was a component called self-help where people would pave in alleyways, they were getting involved in, I hear a lot about it now, entrepreneurial things where you give them some seed money and they start a business. That was there. We added a component to it which meant that if I give you some money and you start a business, you have to make enough money to pay it back, and we take that money and give it to somebody else. It was funded by what was known then as the British Development Division. So those are the type of thing we're doing. Then after that, the Social Welfare Department, they thought we were doing well enough, so they put the Social Welfare Department as part of the Youth and Community Development. So you had youth, sports, Social Welfare Department, small business development, all that happening. And you had the youth center, the youth center down on Victoria Road, where it is still now, where the karate people practice. So it was all that was happening. An opportunity opened up with the Solid Waste Management Corporation at the point. It's just about the point when government was thinking of moving into a more structured and established management of solid waste in St. Kitts. So I was lucky enough to be there on the ground floor to take it from its very beginnings to the point where it became established, and we are moving into things like recycling and the establishing of the landfill at Connery and so on. So that's it. In fact, 20 years after I left, I didn't expect us to be there that long. But education is where I thought I would be, because all the people who had influence on me were educators. I ended up teaching languages primarily because of Miss Katzen. The maths and so on, again with teachers in there. And several of the people of real influence were teachers, and I really enjoyed it. And there was an opportunity, like you, I ended up at a place called Vietnam, which was the Pastor Junior High School, and I enjoyed it. So did I. I enjoyed it. I remember people like Charles Morton, Christine Walwyn, the young lady at TDC, I think Kelly is her married title, Eunice Grant, but I know in school I think Kelly's her title. Those are the type of people. Some of them will credit me with the little things that I started, like the 10-cent club and so on. That's how they got into banking and things like that. I still remember them fondly. And when they had to show up to school started at 8:30, but they had an extra class at 8 o'clock. So we said, well, with your ability, if you put in an extra period at 8 o'clock, and you couldn't come late, because if you come late, you wouldn't go home for lunch. And then if you go home for lunch, you still have to reach back in time. So, But those years at the Bradshaw Junior High School were critical. It was over at the Parkering section, and you go into a class. What they used to do at the time to make sure you have one of the top classes, and so that you don't get too full of yourself, to make sure they give you one of the slow classes. So I had a group 1 and a group 6, and thought I was Superman, because I'd go in the group 6, which is a slow class, and divide them in 3, and could understand. You got a slow class, divide them in 3 groups, run in the class for a double period, and don't understand why you're tired at the end of the week. So I had to find another way of doing it. And then in comes Washington Archibald, and decided he wanted to try. Everywhere I got, ended up with somebody with a reformation or transformation. So he wanted to change things around. You must begin to do the O levels at a different age and earlier, and we have people who could do it. So he handpicked a number of the teachers, and he took them up to Borden Street. So I happened to be one of those. So
those days you had the two campuses.
So he took over Borden Street. He taught the people who wouldn't be hostile to his ideas, and he took them up to Borden Street. Now, all of us went to college and then regret it, because the teachers' college we had at the time turned out to be among the best, if not the best, in the region. And I'm so happy I decided to go to teachers' college. Spent a 2-year there doing full-time. And that was one of the best decisions I ever made.
You got involved in the Olympic movement.
In a strange way.
Movement. How did that happen?
It was always there. I was the rector by then at the Department of Youth and Community Affairs, and every approach made to me, I said, I don't like the conflict of interest. I don't want to be involved once a director of sports, a director of the Youth and Community, which involves sport. it seemed as if they never forgot me. And Raphael Jenkins and Keith Heiliger seem to remember. But Keith Morton was the president at the time. And as soon as he kind of indicated that he moved up, they shop at my door and said, well, you did say, now you're Peace Corps volunteer, you're the thing of Peace Corps, so what about now? I couldn't tell them no at the time. So the first question I remember asking, so what happened to Keith? And then they explained, and I went to Keith and I asked Keith what's the teacher. He said, well, you're moving on and so on. And that's how I got it.
With praise and thanksgiving, let us pray to God who accomplishes all things, eternal God and creator of all things. It is to you we give the highest praise for the good work that you have been doing among this group.
Praise and thanks and honor, glory be to you, O Lord.
For the vision and faith of those gone before, and for the founding of the St. Kitts and Nevis Olympic Committee, and God, for your sustaining it by your gracious hand. For those you inspired with this vision, for those who helped to bring it about with their knowledge and gifts, and for those who contributed their sweat and labor.
In more recent time, I can't help but mention the fact that we moved from Olympic Place to Olympic House and now to Olympic Headquarters. Because while you might just think of it as an edifice, is a mental thing and a psychological thing. This is what is possible in terms of that. We got a lot of help from our parent organization, but that's putting down that structure, the foundation, the edifice, basically impacts on the money. This is what possible. And if I could do this with a building, I could do this on the field, I could do this with my organization. That's one. The other thing is the assistance we are able to provide for the athletes that we have, whether it is Kim Collins or people just below, to move from point A to point B. Sometimes the athletes themselves wouldn't recognize it, but without the National Olympic Committee, it wouldn't have been possible. Whatever did little help in terms of financially, but in terms of exposure that we provided, clearly. And what they in turn did to individual athletes, to the point where some of them, even if they didn't make it to be a regional, a continental, or international champion, there was an opportunity to improve on their education. Because some athletes took it and said, you know what, I'm going to take this opportunity to use a scholarship. I can further my education, and quite a number of people do that. Did that and do it. I could think of Haynes, I could think of a couple other people who know that education did it for them. So those are the things which come to mind.
You must have heard about Leah Hawks, netball champion for a couple of years, right? Then from there into the national netball team. A lot of people don't know that national netball team was number 5 in the world in 1979. And number 5 in the world, bear in mind that there were 3 tied for the top spot. Trinidad and Tobago, England, and Australia. And Wales was in between it, everyone else. So 3 people are tied for the top spot.
that